back to our activity videos, our second one in the series for the Virtual Artist in Residence. Today we'll be looking at where we left off last week with our narrative portraits and how we can start to digitally manipulate them into some digital collage. So now that you have your images that you want to use, some of them are maybe on paper, some of them are maybe on your phone. I encourage you to look at the best way to get those digitized. And what you usually need for that is a scanner. I have one here underneath my desk, which I'll scan. Or you can even use your phone, your iPhone, or any kind of smartphone to take a photo. Whether you choose to use a scanner, a digital scanner, or a photo, just make sure that it has the right resolution, the best picture quality that we want to work for. I'll be sharing my screen with you, and hopefully you can follow along. It's captured everything that's on the page quite nicely. I'm going to select the JPEG high resolution 300 dpi because I want to be able to use the image right into my programs. And I think if I saved it as a PDF, it's a different type of file format that I'm not interested in right now. So I'll save it as a JPEG and you can do the same. So now that I have my JPEG saved, I will save it to somewhere where I can find it. And it's a good idea to start creating folders now where all your imagery will go. So I created a folder with all my new photos, and that's for my sketchbook and the digital photos I took last session. And I've put them all into my folder called Self-Portrait Collage. And you'll see that I also took photos with my phone. And I think what I'll end up using is probably the scanned version because it looks a lot brighter and more, it looks more realistic. The iPhone added a lot of shade. And I'm pretty sure that was because it was a cloudy day. So I guess lighting is also an important thing. It's a lot brighter today, so maybe my photo would have been a little bit better. But I think today I'll use the scanned version for my digital collage. As you can recall, I scanned a few things last session. I picked a forest, a dark kind of brown photo of a forest, and a black and white photo of a forest. And so today I'm going to try and stitch those together with my digital portrait. And I'm excited to kind of explore different ways of doing that with you today. We'll probably be looking at different tools, and you may have access to some of them, such as Photoshop, Illustrator. And I think you're free to explore with any programs you have. I'll just show you how I work usually. So I'm excited to show you, I'm excited to start exploring different things with these separate elements. So I think what I'll do right away is import my images into Photoshop. And I'll show you exactly what I would typically do when I first start a project. So I would open up my image here, and I would just drag it into Photoshop. And then you'll see, here's my images. And what I think is interesting here is that you can actually start to take apart again your composition. So here I'm using the lasso tool, and I will probably rasterize the layer so I can start playing with it. So here I've got the lasso tool and I might cut this out and paste it again as its own image. And then I might as well take a bit of the sky here and use that as a different layer. And then initially I had talked about using this because I like the colors. So I'm going to leave that there for now, and I might actually do something with it differently. But I want to show you within Photoshop the different things you can do in terms of collage, even within this space. And so you can start to really imagine the possibilities of digital collage. So here I'm going to cut out a shape here, and I'm going to delete it. And then I will add, and this is all being done very intuitively, I will start to just play with ideas, I think. So now I'm left with just this floating shape. It's a boat. I mean, it started off by being a boat. Now it looks almost like a space saucer. So I'm still in my Photoshop, and I think what I want to show you is how I can use the shapes that I've cut out from these the sky and the little boat. And what I'm going to do is create a new page, and I'm going to do it. Let's just do it regular size, like 8.5 by 11. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to copy and paste both of these elements here. And you can see now I've gotten rid of a lot of the stuff from around it. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit more. And I think what's fun about digital collage is that you don't necessarily know what's going to happen from the get-go. Well, this is why I'm attracted to it. And I think the idea was to create a self-portrait, and I have some ideas of what that portrait will be, but not all. And I think I'm just showing you different ways of working, and I think it's up to you, the artist, to figure out how you will come up with these ideas. And I think in this case, I'm showing you a variety of different things. Rotating, scale, movement, and I'm changing the colors. And as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to use the colors that were in this. What's interesting about digital collage is that you can cut out textures, not only shape, but you can actually cut out different textures. So now I have all these different shapes that I'm digitally collaging together. And I don't have blue eyes, I have brown eyes, so I'm going to see if I can change their color. I'm adding some of that back in. I've kind of made the eye a bit darker, just because I think as a self-portrait, I want it to be, it's not my eye, but it's that's the thing, it's an artwork, so I'm playing with those ideas. So now I've got this eye, I'm going to merge it. I just want to show you the different possibilities that digital collage can offer, and there's obviously there's no right or wrong way. There's so many ways to explore, and I think for me that's half the fun of it, is how is my composition going to come together with these different elements using technology. So now I have kind of like an idea for a collage. I don't know if this is what I would, if it's final yet, but it's kind of a sketch. So I'm going to save it as a JPEG. And I'm going to try playing things around in Illustrator. And I'm going to also revisit some of the images that I have saved. And that way maybe I'll come up with a complete different composition for my self-portrait. But I think this is a good way to just show what is capable within Photoshop. And I didn't mean this to be so sad. These are the elements that stuck out to me while I was working. But it might end up being something completely different when I'm finished with it. So I also had this drawing that I had sketched, traced for my book. So I'm also going to scan this and have a JPEG and see how I can incorporate it into my digital collage. So I'm scanning the work that I traced earlier, and I want to see what it looks like when I import it into Photoshop, and how I maybe can use it in Illustrator as well. So I know that I had this collage that I'd started with, and then I've got these sketches, and I also have these photos that I wanted to incorporate into my self-portrait. So I think now what I'm going to do is open Illustrator. Alright, so I'm going to create a new file. And I think I'll just make it, for now, I'm going to make it 8.5 by 11 inches because I might want to print it later. And I want to make sure I'm using sizes that everyone has access to. So hopefully your school or at home you have a printer. So I'm going to start playing around with some ideas and we'll see where we end up. So for this self-portrait, I was really interested in this little boat that I saw. I kind of saw it like a spaceship, and the woman inside it kind of resembles maybe a family member from far away, or it could be me, I'm not sure, but it connected me. I felt connected to it when I saw it. So I'm going to try, and I like the illustration version of it, but I'm going to try and make it my own illustration now. So how I'll do that is I'll start tracing it with the pen tool. So my process usually involves playing around with the images in different programs. I'll drag and drop the sketches I've made, and I'll play with the cutouts, play with the colors that I've chosen, and oftentimes I'll experiment until I'm happy with my narrative or my illustration. And I think for today's activity, it's really about being playful and exploring the narrative that you've created for your self-portrait. And I'm obviously going to keep playing with it, and you'll see through my process that sometimes I'll try a few things and decide that I don't like it, or sometimes I'll have another idea afterwards. And I'm just enjoying the process of mixing and matching the images, and I'm still thinking about this as a self-portrait. ended up creating kind of a composition of 3 images. The reason why I chose all these images together, I think, is to show that it's been a long pandemic, and I feel like I've been in a little boat trying to navigate from thing to thing, event to event, and winter is coming, so I kind of created this winter character with the trees and the forest, and I think the image of the person in the little boat is me kind of floating through that. And I think with this triptych, I have room to kind of imagine how this would look in a gallery setting. And I can maybe even start doing some mock-ups of what that would look like. And I'm excited to share that with you. So I'd love for you to take a look at what you've done so far and use your tools that you have digitally, whether it's Photoshop, Paint, or any kind of Illustrator or any other kind of online tools that you might have to manipulate images. I say go ahead and explore what you have and see what you end up with. And you can share with your classmates and your teachers your ideas. And I think it's also important to have a variety of different images to choose from, because some of them might be more successful than others. Some of them might be ideas for future works. And that's kind of why I tend to use different I tend to create different boards where I put different ideas, and I'll end up moving things around until I'm happy with something. And this is by no means complete. This is just a bit to show my process and how a lot of it is intuitive, but also made by the choices we did in our last activity. And it's coming together. I still have some things I want to work on, but I'll save a lot of that for our next session, where we look at how to bring this work more into less digital, but how we could bring that into a 2D, 3D way. And I think that will also change how I'll export the work and how I print it. And I think it'll be a fun way to see the work come to life. And I hope you enjoyed this artist in residence with me today.